Welcome, friends, to another episode of Dan Tremblay Music. Today I'm so excited. This is episode number 1 of my new artist profile series, and today we have a very, very special guest, Rachel de Koekkoek from San Diego. Rachel is a fantastic singer. We talk about her musical background, talking about music theater, her very inspirational musical father, musical goals. We talk about her new song and video, live streaming, COVID. We talk about it all. We get it all out there. So let's just get right to it. So welcome, friends, by the way, to the first episode of the Artist Profile series of the Dan Tremblay Music. Very, very excited. So today we have Rachel de Koekkoek from San Diego. I was practicing how to say her name right before we hit record. So welcome, Rachel. First of all, thank you very, very much for doing this. I know this is a little strange because we don't actually know each other.
Yeah.
So I guess we could talk about how I stumbled upon you, because it's interesting in the advent of COVID and everything's gone online. It's the discovery of artists has really changed. So and we'll talk more about this, but I guess we'll just talk about it but right now, but I'll come back to it. So Sessions Live, I think, is where I first came across you.
Yeah.
So streaming platform. Now, are you still on Sessions Live? Are you still doing it?
I haven't done it in a while.
Okay.
You actually caught me on the tail end of my streaming on that website.
Okay.
I was doing it pretty frequently for a few months, but then it just became sort of not as worth it anymore, and I was becoming a little drained from doing the same songs over and over. So I decided it was a good idea to step back and.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. And yet, that's how I found out about you, which is interesting. So, and we'll come back to streaming in a minute, but let's go back a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about your musical background. When did music start for you? How old were you? Where did it come from?
Well, my family, especially on my dad's side, is musically involved. My dad plays the flute. His mom and his dad, they both were singers, and they were just musically involved. My dad put me in musical theater when I was a kid, my sister and I, actually, both of us. And yeah, musical theater mostly where it started. We watched a lot of like musicals, like The Sound of Music, and yeah, we did like piano lessons when we were kids. So it's my parents doing, mostly my dad's doing.
Okay, excellent. And now, do you still play piano? I noticed you play guitar. I've seen you play guitar. Do you still play both, or?
I have pursued guitar more. Piano, I play very minimally, but
okay. Yeah. I'm the opposite. So I'm a piano player, obviously, but every piano player wants to be able to play really good guitar. So I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Yeah. So my start in music was the same thing. My mom taught me how to play piano. She still teaches, which is awesome. Let's talk a little bit about influences. What kind of music did you grow up with? What are you listening to these days? What inspires you?
I mean, it's the music I've listened to has changed a lot, like in the matter of my whole life. But when I was a kid, it was musical theater and stuff. And then when I was in high school, I got into Amy Winehouse. So Amy Winehouse is one of my biggest influences. I actually have a tattoo of her on my arm, but you can't see it right now.
Okay.
So she's definitely one of my biggest influences. Recently been getting back into Norah Jones. Really like her.
Love Norah Jones.
Yeah. And I get compared to her every now and then, which is
how awful to be compared to Norah Jones. Eh?
No, I mean, it's a really big compliment, but I always feel like unworthy. But anyway, that's just...
So yeah, no, I've heard. I was going back and I listened to your cover of Norah Jones. Don't know why. So good,
Oh,
So good.
thanks.
Yeah, you have an awesome voice, a very, very beautiful voice. And I think that's why, and again, I'm going back and forth to sessions, but, um, when my wife and I were scrolling through the various artists on that live streaming platform, most of them were singers, and it seemed like kind of like a karaoke type thing. And
Yeah.
I was like, this is not really what I'm looking for. And then
Yeah.
then we came across your channel, and the first thing we saw is you playing guitar. I'm like, hey, finally a musician. That's what we want to hear. And I think you might have done a Nora Jones song actually when we saw you. That I don't know if we saw one or two streams of yours, but anyway, you did a fantastic job of that song. It's an amazing song. We love Nora Jones, and you
Thanks.
you really pulled it off. So good job. Um, let's talk about, you have a brand new song called
Yeah.
Like You Do. So tell us a little bit about that song, where it came from, how it came to be.
Well, yeah, it's recently recorded. I wrote it actually in 2019, over the summer in 2019, I think. And it's actually like partially about my boyfriend now.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was inspired by an experience that I had with him. And then um yeah, I don't know. I was messing around with this chord progression on guitar, and then I ended up I think I originally had like different lyrics and like a different melody to it, but then it just kind of evolved into Like You Do. And I wasn't planning on recording it, but my friend Nathan James, who's a really good blues musician, he lives out here in, well, not San Diego exactly, but like Oceanside, like a little north. Um, and he offered to help me record it. So like a lot of the instrumentation, well, I'll say all of the instrumentation on that song, aside from the guitar and then my vocals, aside from the rhythm guitar and my vocals, was like his doing. So he made that song what it is as far as the recorded version goes. Yeah.
Very cool. So like, was it, were you like like one room, or did you record your part and send it to him? How did the
Oh,
process work?
yeah, we did it separately. So I
Okay.
recorded my guitar and vocals to like a metronome here in this room, and then I sent it to him, and he's got like a home studio
Okay.
thing.
And then
So
you produced it, add everything else. So when you heard it back the first time after you'd added everything, like, was it really cool to hear it from its original form?
yeah, I mean, like the first demo he sent me was like way different from what I expected it to be, but I was like, cool. I like the collaborative effort. I like how it's different than what I would have done by myself. Um, and we sent it back and forth several times, and I added harmonies, and it evolved from its first
it's
form.
it's
But
it's still yeah, it amazes to me that that we live in a time where these kind of collaborations can happen fairly easily from all across the world. I still kind of am in awe of it, that we don't have to have like these geographical borders to separate us from working with people all over the place, which is pretty amazing, really.
yeah,
So I find it very inspiring to hear those kind of stories. So, singers, songwriters out there in the world, don't let those kind of things hold you back,
yeah,
because who knows where your song might end up, whose hands they might get into.
yeah.
Um, okay, so brand new song now. Is there more songs? Is that a first song that's coming off of an album? Is there something coming? Is it secretive? Should I not ask that question?
Oh no, it's not secretive. I wish that I knew the answer to that question. This song is probably going to remain a single. It's probably not going to be part of an album, but I do want to work on an EP. It's just a matter of resources. I don't know. I would like to start putting together an EP, because I've only released like 3 singles thus far. And prior to COVID happening, I was working on an EP with my friend who's also a musician and a producer, Aaron Bowen, who's really great. But he, with COVID, he wasn't really comfortable doing the recording at the beginning of everything. And I don't know, I kind of I felt uninspired from pursuing the songs that I was going to do on that EP. So now I'm just working on newer stuff.
Okay, very cool. So, yeah, so I guess that would kind of lead me to my next question, COVID. So you talked a little bit about how it's affected you. Were you performing live before all this madness happened?
Yeah, I was here and there. I mean, it really, Actually, I was starting to perform increasingly more, like just before this madness happened. I was going to start doing like a monthly, um, I was going to start hosting like a monthly songwriter showcase thing at this venue near where I live called Lestat's. Uh, I totally forgot about that too because it feels like it was so long ago, and it didn't even start, but it was going to start literally in March, the month that everything in March of 2020, the month that everything kind of closed down. And now that I don't know if that venue is going to survive, so that's definitely not happening anymore.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy how fast things can change. So I was
Yeah.
planning on doing living room shows. That was going to be the big thing. I was putting together like a living room tour, getting it all ready to go. We were in Florida. My family and I were at Disney, of all places, like in February, like the worst place you could possibly be, like with
Oh
people from
man.
all over the world, right?
Yeah.
And my wife ended up getting super sick. Who knows if it was COVID or not? So
Oh.
yeah, and who ever thought like it was going to be going on as long as it has? I certainly
Mm.
didn't. I mean, I know you guys in the U.S. are ahead of us in terms of we're gradually catching up, but things here are still all locked down and everything's
Oh
closed up, and yeah, it's brutal.
yeah, I've
We're
heard that
struggling to
things.
catch up. Yeah, it's finally we're starting to round the corner, but man, it has just been like endless. So, but we can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Um, so okay, so and I guess that's how I'm assuming that that's how your live streaming might have started. It was around that time or shortly
Yeah.
thereafter.
Yeah, I think around like maybe a couple months into COVID. um, yeah, I got an email and then an Instagram message and then a YouTube message, and I was just getting like spammed by this like recruiter or whatever you want to call it for
So this is
sessions.
sessions live we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, for sessions, this person who was like seeking out artists to come on the platform because the platform is still relatively new. It
right,
still is relatively new, but
right.
um at first I was like, oh, this is spam. I just kind of ignored it. But then they kept messaging me and I was like, okay, they're saying I'm going to make 25 bucks off my first show. Or yeah, I think it was that. And I was like, might as well do it just because what the heck, you know?
Yeah, I'll
And then
do
I
it for
did it.
25 bucks.
Yeah. And I had actually also like recently lost my job because of COVID because I was working in a restaurant. Um, and they completely closed down at the start of they closed down in March. So like at the very start of all this craziness. And anyway, so I was like, I have all this free time on my hands. I might as well look into doing the live streaming on sessions. And so I did. And yeah, my first impression of it was also like, this is some karaoke business. um,
Yeah,
but there was still like a good amount of people on there who were very good. And
right.
um, yeah, it was fun for a while.
And you were so what was the length of time in terms of how long you were on sessions live for, like in terms of months? How long were you doing it for? Was it a long period of time? Like since
Um,
COVID and up until very recently, or
yeah, I mean, I haven't done it in several months, but I want to say I started in October. Wait, yeah, I started in October last year. So it hasn't been that, it didn't do it for that long, a
okay.
few months.
And it
Yeah.
seems to me like I can recall you had a pretty crazy. You were doing like 5 days a week or something like that. Like it
At
was a
one point,
lot.
well,
Yeah.
because so I don't know if you're aware of like the payment system that Sessions had.
Well, only from I've talked to a couple of different artists, and none of them have had anything good to say about it. But please enlighten us.
Okay. Well, part of the reason I stopped streaming is because it didn't make as much financial sense. Like because they changed their payment system. So what it was is like there were these show bonuses. And then did you know about the show bonuses and whatnot?
Yeah, I know a little bit. I've dabbled into it, and I lost interest very quickly, to be honest with you. But
Right, right. Well, essentially, you can work your way up artist levels, and the higher your artist level, the more money you get paid per show, and the more shows you're allowed to get paid for. So I got to a point where I could get paid for a certain amount of hours of shows. So that ended up me doing shows 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and I was getting paid decently for COVID. It wasn't like a live performance or anything.
Right.
But anyway, I'm kind of rambling now. The point
No, it's
is
fine.
the yeah, their payments kind of dropped drastically, and I was like, well, they kind of screwed everyone on this app over, so it's not really
Right.
worth it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a real shame because, so I, like you, I was the same, it's probably the same guy that messaged me. I was streaming on YouTube. I was doing YouTube live,
Mhm.
and same thing. They, talent scout or whatever you want to call it. I was like, oh wow, this is awesome. I was like super super excited about it. And then I think probably I went and started to check out some of the shows, and I did a handful of them. But then I talked to a couple of artists, and same thing. It was just like people talking about like, look, the payment is just not there. And the reason I mentioned the 5 days a week is because I've been doing Twitch, so I'm on Twitch now,
Mhm.
and I find it so draining. Live streaming, just unbelievably draining. Like the end of a stream, I'm just like done,
Yeah.
like just
Yeah.
totally spent.
Mhm.
So I find it's a shame because I thought that Sessions Live I thought was an interesting concept, and I think they have some really neat ideas, but it's like the execution. It's like somebody needs to come in and fix
Yeah.
it up. I don't know.
It
Uh,
had, yeah. I mean, it had potential. It still maybe does have potential. I don't know. I haven't been
Maybe it
on it in a minute.
does. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I went and I was twitching. I was doing a Twitch stream last week, and there was nobody in the room, so I like closed that and I went on Sessions. And the interesting thing I found about Sessions is that in terms of discovery, there's always seems to be people in there actively looking. There's an audience always actively looking for. Where sometimes
Yeah.
Twitch, I'm streaming to empty rooms for hours at
Right.
a time, so it's kind of like you have to kind of find your balance, but.
Right. Yeah.
So in terms of, and I'm not going to go on and on about this, but I do find the live streaming thing interesting. And I know that there's still a lot of talk, even as COVID continues to affect musicians performing live. Certainly here, live performance is not going to be happening anytime soon. So live streaming is still going to be a thing. And it was around long before COVID happened. Is it something that you are still interested in doing, perhaps with a different platform, or is it just you need like a break from it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've thought about doing Twitch. My sister well, she's a singer as well, but she hasn't done singing. She hasn't streamed singing yet. She's just been doing like, how people do gaming on Twitch. It's like the main thing.
Yes, yeah,
She's been doing that for fun, but she's recently got some equipment so she could start singing on there. And then I've been thinking about possibly doing it on Twitch as well. Um, I'm also considering going on sessions every now and then just because like there were some nice people that were very supportive that I met on sessions, and
right,
I would like to be able to touch base with them again because I kind of just, you
right,
know,
right.
went off the map. But yeah, Twitch I'm considering. That's about it. But live performances are picking back up here, and it's not something that I'm going to get back into like uh in full swing really, but I have like a couple gigs this week that are just very minor gigs, but I'm excited for.
Awesome. So are these the first like post-COVID gigs for you? Like live
Post
gigs?
COVID. Yeah, I did play a couple. I played a driveway gig during COVID once, and then I did a private like party gig, and I think that's about it as far as
Right.
what I've played.
Yeah. So it'd probably be like really exciting for you to actually be in front of like an actual live audience again. Is it different? How would you compare the two versus live streaming to an audience that you can't see, which to me still kind of freaks me out, to be honest with you, versus being in a room where you could kind of see everybody? How different is it to you, or is it not different at all?
I mean, it's definitely different. It just so depends. I mean, I guess I prefer playing live. However, like being an introverted person, it's really nice after the show getting to just like not have to talk to anybody.
It's like hit the button. See, it's fun. It's funny that you say that you refer to yourself as an introvert. And I don't know you. This is the first conversation we've had,
Uh-huh.
but putting yourself in a live streaming platform where anybody in the world can go and watch you seems like something that is not an introvert thing to do. So
Yeah.
was it nerve-wracking for you ever, or is it when
Yes.
you're turning on the camera and everything, and is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really nerve-wracking in the beginning, and then it got better. However, if I had too much coffee that day, it would be extremely nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
It just depends. Like I go through like phases with whether or not I'm intimidated by what I'm doing. Um, I don't know. It depends.
Right.
But um yeah, the live streaming, I'm part of the reason I'm hesitant to pick up again is because it does make me a little nervous. It's not something I do really easily. Um,
It doesn't come across that though. Like the streams that we saw of you seemed very natural. You didn't seem nervous at all, and certainly the singing was spot on. The guitar playing was fantastic. So, interesting you saying that, but it didn't to me. It didn't come through that you were nervous at all. So
you
the
might have
mark
caught me on a good day. I don't know.
the mark of a good performer. You can maybe it's your stage kind of musical background where you can kind of keep that on the inside and perhaps.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird because like I've always been like I think I've always been introverted. That's how I'd classify myself. And I've always been shy. But when it comes to music, it's something that I don't want to be shy about. Like I like performing, but I don't know. It's one of the only things I like being paid attention to for, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It makes total sense. Makes total sense. And yeah, I can completely identify with that. I would rather just be like a fly on the wall. Um,
But you
you know,
seem social enough to like put this together,
yeah,
That's
and
not
that's
something
only
I would ever do.
that's only from like years of, and we're not going to get into a long, boring story about my upbringing, but I was yeah, extremely shy kid. I come from a military. My dad was military. We moved all around the place. I was always the new kid, and for a long time I didn't. We moved from this tiny little place in Western Canada to Philadelphia. I lived in Philadelphia for 3 years. So population, to the huge city of Philadelphia. My first time in the States,
Yeah.
and they actually thought there was something wrong with me at some point because I wasn't talking to anybody. I was like upset all the time. I'm like,
That's
no,
so
he's just.
funny.
I
I
know
mean,
it
it's not
is.
funny, but
No,
it's
no, it is. It's hilarious. It's so funny,
well,
and so it's the constant moving and always being the new kid in town
yeah.
that I.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
cut
no,
you
no. Go
off,
ahead.
but
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I kind of have I'm not from a military family, but we moved a few times growing up because of my dad's work. And so I experienced being the new kid like a few times in my life. And because of that, I think I had a similar experience. And there were teachers that didn't even know I could talk, like when I was really
Right.
young. And my
Right.
parents would come in. I just remember one time my parents came in for like a meeting with my teacher, and I was playing with my sister on like the other side of the classroom. And the teacher was like, she can talk. I had no idea she could talk. And so that was kind of embarrassing at the time, but
Yeah, it comes be like it's kind of like a sink or swim type thing. And music was always kind of the escape from that, right? I've played piano since I was very young, and it was always like, oh, maybe he's not such a loser. He can play, he can play piano, so maybe we should talk to him. But it
there
was
you
always,
go.
yeah, it was always an escape for me. And YouTube has been really good for me to really just say, okay, that's it. I'm tired of, I want the music out there. I want to meet other artists. I'm so passionate about music and about, film and YouTube and everything that,
Yeah, I saw some of your videos on YouTube. You've got the film thing down too. Like the your videos
I'm,
are all very aesthetically
thank
nice.
you. I appreciate that, and so your boyfriend filmed your video for your song. Is that correct?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I thought it was
I
great.
edited it though because I have control issues.
Yeah, I hear you. It's always, I guess that's like a mark of an artist maybe is that we're inherently hard on ourselves. It's the kind of the thing I'm getting from you. Um, so,
Yeah.
but I thought it was great. I thought, it suited the style of the song very, very well. So I look forward to, more videos and more songs. So future plans, you're gonna start hopefully playing some live gigs, or you're starting to play some live gigs, live streaming, maybe gonna dabble,
Mhm.
and hopefully some new music, new EP.
Yeah,
And
hopefully.
so let me ask you this: so you're working at a restaurant now. Is that restaurant? Is Is it going to reopen? Is it?
Not that location. There's multiple locations for that restaurant, but the one in downtown San Diego is permanently shut down. Yeah.
Yeah, the effect that this thing has had on businesses is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the number of jobs that have been lost is astounding,
Yeah.
and lives too, right? It's
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just crazy because I mean, it really came out of nowhere for me. I mean, I don't know, maybe other people saw it come in from further away, but I just remember people talking about it happening in China, and I was like, wow, that sounds really crazy. Um, and then before I knew it, they were passing out like hand washing flyers at work, and I was like, what is this? Why are we doing this? We
Right.
know to
Yeah.
wash our hands.
Yeah.
And then a week later, no one showed up at the restaurant, and then 2 days later the restaurant closed down. It was just bizarre, like out of nowhere.
Yeah, it happened so quickly. And like I said, we were like at the worst destination worldwide, Disney World.
Oh yeah, yeah, being in Disney World.
20,000 people in the park, and same thing. Just like you, we had heard that there was like this virus. I'm like, yeah, yeah, whatever,
Yeah,
yeah, it's fine.
yeah.
And just the profound effect it's had. Has this experience had an effect on like your mental health at all? Have you had any challenges with all the news and all the media, and
Oh
has it?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I got super consumed in the media, well, especially my boyfriend, but I was there with him for a minute when things were getting really crazy, and they also had like riots happening during the George Floyd stuff. Um, yeah, I was really in the like on my consumed on my phone at that point, and then I realized that it was seriously affecting my health mentally. So I kind of distanced myself for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a balance between being informed, so we know, what's happening in the world. We can't just bury our heads in the sand. But I was the same way. I was like news stories constantly, and
Yeah.
a significant negative impact on my mental health, where I had to take a step back and say, look, we can't control the situation. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're finally starting to come out of it. So I'm excited about, how this year's is headed.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's also like if you consume that stuff too much, you don't even know what your own beliefs are. You're just like reading everyone else's like opinions, and you don't like you're so flooded with outside information you can't even like process it in your own way.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like as you know, with social media, the vast majority of stuff that's reported is the negative stuff.
Yeah.
So where there's a
Yeah.
lot of positive stories out there too,
Right.
and hopefully from all of this, what we've learned, if anything, is how precious time is, and to make the
Yeah.
most out of every single moment, right? Because you just never know what's going to
Oh
happen.
yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, and with all that said, I mean, I would be lying if I said that some positive things didn't come out of the world being flipped upside down. I mean, obviously, like in in a holistic perspective, like, a lot of people suffered, but I definitely take there's some things that I'm grateful for that have happened in my life. Like the transition, like being knocked out of the restaurant industry was kind of a blessing in disguise for me. So, I mean, yeah, not to
so yeah, no,
discredit tragedy, but
no, I completely understand what you're saying. So is music the thing for you? Is this you found your calling? This is it.
yeah, I mean, I've always felt since I was a kid that this is what I wanted to do. And I've just never really let go of that idea.
Yeah, you
So,
know why? Because you can't. Okay. And I totally get this, because it's instilled in youth. And I have the same thing. And I've had it since I was a kid, probably the first live show I ever saw. And it's been there ever since. And it's
yeah.
interesting what you said about the pandemic, is that, if we look past of all the tragic consequences, for me, it threw me into doing music and doing YouTube and getting out there. It was like it just launched this whole other thing, which wasn't there before, which maybe I wouldn't have done. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like you're trying to take something positive out of a seemingly horrible situation. But
Right.
yeah, I
Yeah.
totally get it.
And yeah, I mean, it's I'm also lucky that nothing horrible has happened to me. Like I don't have a business that got shut down. I didn't get deathly ill. No one in my family got deathly ill. So I
Yeah. And same thing here. We're very thankful. None of our family members were sick. We're lucky enough that we're able to work from home, and my wife has a really steady job, as she has to, because she's married to a musician. So
she's the
we know.
breadwinner.
Yeah, yeah, she knows it too. Yeah, she's got the stable income. Okay, well, this has been awesome, Rachel. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
And please, everybody, go and listen to Rachel's music. Great singer. Listen to her new song, and check out the video. And we look forward to more of Rachel's music, and hopefully more videos and upcoming EP. And maybe we'll be lucky enough to see her live streaming on Twitch or sessions somewhere, or if you're in the San Diego area. So thanks for watching, everybody. Don't go away, Rachel. We'll just have some final thoughts. All right.
Sure.
Goodbye, YouTube world. Final thoughts. When my wife and I were in sessions live, and we were first researching and checking it out, live streaming, we found artist after artist that was seemingly, I don't want to say a karaoke singing, but playing to previously recorded music and just singing over top of it. Sorry, but I don't feel like that is a live streaming musical performance. We came across Rachel. She was playing guitar. Immediately, what struck us is how great her voice is. I mean, who doesn't want to listen to somebody who is reminiscent of Norah Jones? She is a talented songwriter. She plays guitar. This kid is going places. So go listen to her music, check out her YouTube channel, follow her on social media, and I think there are going to be big things coming from Rachel de Koekkoek from San Diego. So check her out. You will not be disappointed. Thanks for watching, my friends, and I hope this is the first episode of many in my new artist profile series. Stay safe.